I happened to just the other day get my hands on a book entitled Retirement Intelligence, Personal Retirement Readiness by best-selling author Robert Laura. I think he's based out of Michigan, if I recall correctly. Happened to be reading it and thought it'd be interesting to share some perspective on that book to our listening audience because it had some important things to say about retirement.
Yeah. Absolutely. Retirement is tougher than a lot expect, in a lot of ways.
No, that's for sure. And there's certainly a lot of things that nobody tells you about retirement. And many of the issues we've talked about in prior programs, the issues involving loneliness and loss of self-worth. But there were certainly some other things that some key points that the book made that we wanted to kind of get into in this segment.
Absolutely. 2/3 of retirees have seen someone struggle with the transition to retirement. It's not as easy as everybody thinks about the financial aspect, and that's certainly very important, but there's more to it. Nearly half of all retirees report that adjusting to retirement was not only harder than expected, but took much longer than expected. And we definitely see that every day with clients that we work with.
Well, it's important to kind of have these conversations and talk it through. As we were saying in the last segment, this is the kind of thing where it's more than just a spreadsheet. It's more than just some online retirement calculator. These are the things that you really need to be thinking through and having a game plan for, because some parts of retirement, at least when you look at the numbers, I mean, there's a little bit of a dark side to it, particularly when you start to look at some of these reports from the Journal of Population Aging, where you've got folks that are retired are twice as likely to report feeling symptoms of depression than those who are still working. So some pretty dramatic numbers, and then you see that in the alcohol abuse as well.
Yeah, I think people struggle with finding a purpose in retirement. You have your whole life where your purpose is pretty clear. Your career goals are fairly laid out, and then once you retire, it's sometimes hard to find that purpose in life.
Something like 2/3 of all folks over the age of 65 report engaging in high risk drinking. So, there's a tough side to retirement, so these are the things that you need to be aware of.
Absolutely, and the issue is people think retirement is some sort of promised land, rely on just the feeling, but sometimes the feelings will not cut it. You need a real plan of action of how you're going to spend your time in retirement.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you lose a lot. You lose your routine, you lose your direction, social connection, mental stimulus. I mean, all of that. And you need to be very careful about all of that when you do retire, because you're going to lose potentially a lot of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It takes some work in that side of retirement that not many people think about. You got to worry about your health and your relationships and just activities and connections in general. It's very important, and just very important to your happiness in general in retirement.
No doubt. I mean, the other issue we see is that people often use retirement as an excuse to procrastinate, right? Oh, I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to wait till I retire. I'll put that off until later. Right. The problem is that we just don't know what later looks like, and so that becomes hard.
Yeah, none of us have a known expiration date, so to speak. So absolutely, it takes some active, some active effort in order to make retirement what you want it to be. You got to think about these things for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's why I found the book Retirement Intelligence so interesting. I mean, the reality is it really did sort of summarize a lot of what we talk to folks in the office about, before they retire, but a lot of the conversations. I mean, I think there's two parts of the conversation, and I think that's why there's really no substitute for working with someone when it comes to retirement, is that there's the financial side where obviously you got to run the budget and run the numbers and all that, but then it's the non-financial side. One of the first questions that I ask, and certainly Chet, you've said it on a number of meetings over the years with us, one of the first questions that I ask people is, what are you going to do with all your spare time?
Right. and they may not expect that question out of the financial planner, but it should be that should be the first question because it's an extremely important one.
Because you can have all the money in the world, but if you're emotionally and physically not able to take advantage of it or use it, then it's not much good to you.
Absolutely. No, I mean there's more, much more than just the dollars and cents and the financial side of retirement, and those conversations, of course, we have every day, and that's what we specialize here at Nelson Financial Planning.
And that's certainly why that conversation, darn near every conversation when folks come in to talk about retirement, I always started off with that question because that's a very thought-provoking question, and particularly as you read more and more about these surveys, these reports, these health reports that show high levels of depression, high levels of engaging in high-risk drinking behavior. What's if you're going to have a quality retirement, well, then needs to have quality of life.
Right. Well, there's a big time difference in just free time in general between working and retirement. It may not feel like it, but we all have our weekends currently when we're working. But when you retire, you have to realize that every single day is what you make it, and that all of that free time can become overwhelming, and again, that lack of purpose can become a problem for a lot of people.
So important to plan for retirement, and I think a lot of people focus on that. I'm going to plan for retirement. I'm going to figure out my income, figure out the right withdrawal strategy, figure out how to be tax efficient, and no doubt, that's all important.
Very important.
But there's a whole nother part of it that I think far too often we don't hear people talk enough about, and certainly 800 number or website or whatever the case may be, not really getting into some of these more nuanced, sort of non-financial aspects about retirement.
Yeah, no, these face-to-face conversations that we have that go far beyond just the financials of it are very important.
Indeed. Well, with that, we're going to take a break, and if you're interested in having one of those conversations, visit our website, nelsonfinancialplanning.com, and there you can look to schedule a conversation at your convenience. So we look forward to talking with you. This is Joel Garris and Chet Cowart of Nelson Financial Planning, and we're going to take a break.